So if you guys ever walked away from a game and you don't really know how you feel about it, it's kind of how I was with Skyler and Plux. And let me get this straight, this game isn't bad, it's actually a pretty interesting one. You play as a cat named Skyler and a bird named Plux, but they're no Banjo-Kazooie. I mean, they're okay, but there's definitely other mascots I prefer. They face off against an evil robot named CRT who wants to turn Clover Island into a wasteland and conquer the planet. And guys, I don't even know what to say about this guy, to tell you the truth. Skyler and Plux have to foil his plans. It's basically the run-of-the-mill story for a platformer. But let's get back to CRT for a minute, guys. I can't tell if he's the worst villain of all time or maybe the best character of all time. His voice actor sounds like he was just like a guy in the office. They're like, you want to voice this villain? And he was like, yeah, sure.
Still alive after that gruesome reconstruction. But hey, I'm not complaining. Once your brand new arm's complete, you'll be able to sucker punch people into orbit, baby.
I hate it and I love it at the same time, and it's one of those things you have to play to kind of understand. I think it may annoy some people. I kind of enjoyed how cheesy it was. That's kind of me. I kind of enjoy cheesy stories. The voice acting, I don't really want to hate on it because it's an indie game, but some of it might turn people off. I mean, for what it is, it's not that bad. Overall, the story gets the job done with some little cutscenes in between missions. They're these little stagnant pictures with text, and they kind of animate it a little bit. I thought there's something nice about that, though. That was the first scene in the game. It gave you a nice visual and kind of brought you into the world. For a game like this, you're not going to get Stephen King or The Last of Us, so the story is what it is, you know. The gameplay is very reminiscent of games like Ratchet and Clank, and it controls pretty smoothly. Each level has these things called Loa, which you free, and those are kind of like the big collectibles in the game. You collect those and you get an extra health piece, but overall, I mean, beating the final boss, you don't need that many health pieces. I think I beat the game with 6 or 7, and throughout each level, I think I got a little bit more than half of the Loa in each world.
So if you ever feel weak and beat down, remember to come and talk to me.
That sure seems like a tall order. I'm sure you'll do fine, Skyler. Pleasure meeting you.
And guys, the Loa in this game, I'm not gonna lie, they kind of scare me a little bit. Their model and their design, they kind of just freak me out for some reason. They remind me of, I don't know, Carl Weezer and Planet Sheen. We don't talk about Planet Sheen on this channel, actually, so let's just get off of that right now. The art style in this game is quite good and has a similar style to maybe games like A Hat in Time. I like cel-shaded games like this, to tell you guys the truth. I have no complaints on this front. I didn't really think any textures were flat or anything, and for the team that worked on it, they did a fantastic job on it, so kudos to them. There's 3 worlds in the game, there's not too much to collect. The levels are vast, but there's a lot of stuff that kind of leads to nothing. I would have liked to see maybe a little bit more hidden collectibles or just funny Easter eggs or something if you can explore the world like that, but it did bring me back to the early 2000s. The other thing about the world that I didn't like in this game were some of the puzzles. So there's a puzzle in this game that I was playing, and it was actually fairly simple to solve, but it took me like 20 minutes. So Jackie came over and said, Jackie, I need help. I can't solve this puzzle. She comes over, and the more we do it, we were getting motion sick from it. And that sounds kind of crazy because that rarely happens to me in a video game. So we both gave up. We couldn't solve this puzzle, so we went on YouTube. And when the guy was doing the puzzle, he said, yeah, this took me a long time to solve, and I felt weirdly nauseous from it.
First off, I was starting to feel actually physically sick. I think it's something I ate, or I'm not quite sure, but this puzzle was giving me quite the hard time.
I just thought I'd throw that in because I thought that was kind of interesting. It's not something that's really happened to me in games, to tell you guys the truth. One other thing that I like to mention is there's 3 power-ups in this game. You get one that's a jetpack similar to Ratchet and Clank. You get the ability to slow time down, and you can also pick up rocks and throw them. All of these power-ups are pretty cool, but a lot of them are pretty short-lived due to the game's length, and I think that's kind of a big problem. I wish we would have used these a little bit more, but each level that they're introduced in, they're used pretty well. Skyler and Plux is one of those games that I'd love to see a sequel from someday. I think the team here does have something going here, and I'm not going to spoil anything, but the ending of the game does leave it open, so hopefully maybe one day we'll get a Skyler and Plux sequel. I think there's a lot of cool things they could do with that, and, you know, I do think the next game should take some more risks to not be as similar to, like, Ratchet and Clank, and find its own identity via games like Cuphead did, or A Hat in Time. But overall, for a recommendation for this one, well, guys, for 20 bucks for a 2-hour game, I think it's a little steep right now, to tell you guys the truth. I hate to say that about an indie game, because I know people need as much support as they can get, but I'd wait for a sale on this one. I picked it up for $5, and I felt fine with that. But when there's games like A Hat in Time and Cuphead out and Mario Odyssey, and I mean, Cuphead and A Hat in Time are very similar to price. I mean, you look at games like that, it makes it hard to recommend that for this price. I think you guys will enjoy this game if you pick it up on a sale price, so. That's Skyler and Plux. Not a whole lot you really have to say about this game. It kind of speaks for itself. It's a simple platformer. Gets the job done, and a genre that I really enjoy is platformers. I'd like to maybe take a look at a few more on this channel. I always like playing indie games because you can find some very interesting ideas in them, and honestly, they're a lot more fun than most AAA games for me these days. So anyway, guys, thank you very much for watching, and thank you for your continued support. You guys rock, and we will see you guys next time. Next week, I'm going to be taking a look at Tales of Berseria. Might be a week or two, because it's probably going to be a pretty lengthy RPG since it's a JRPG. But I've been kind of excited to play that. I picked it up in the Steam sale, so anyway, we'll see you guys next time.
Oh, well, look who's awake. Our little thief. Are you really so stupid as to think you could steal from the great CRT? Heck, I'm not even sure how you're still alive after that gruesome